the mediastinal masses. So, patient come to us by the complaint of either respiratory distress or by dysphagia or the chest pain. So, first step will be we have to do a chest X-ray, both PA and the lateral. Usually we do a PA view, but in sometimes we have to do the lateral projection also. So next step will be if we found some mass or any abnormalities in the chest X-ray. So what will be our next step? So our next step will be either CT scan or the MRI to characterize the lesion, because in X-ray both fluid or the soft tissue will appear the opacity or the white area. So we cannot differentiate whether it is fluid or the soft tissue. So we have to do the CT scan or the MRI. As the CT is usually available all the places, so we prefer CT. And in some cases, like if we suspect the involvement of the vertebral body or the spinal canal, we have to go for the MRI. So, the Felsen divided the mediastinum into three parts: anterior, medial, and the posterior. So the border of the anterior mediastinum, it is bounded anteriorly by the posterior aspect of the sternum, where its posterior boundary will be it is formed by the anterior aspect of the trachea and below by the posterior aspect of the cardiac shadow. And the medial mediastinum is extend from this border to the line created along the thoracic vertebra, that is 1 centimeter behind the anterior border of the vertebral body. And behind this line, that part is the posterior mediastinum. So there are some content in each of this mediastinum, like anterior mediastinum contains fat, lymph nodes, thymus gland, some part of heart, some whole part of the heart, and the ascending aorta. While the middle mediastinum will contain the trachea, bronchi, esophagus, descending aorta, lymph nodes, and the posterior mediastinum will contain the paravertebral soft tissue. So the most common tumor in the anterior superior mediastinum is the thymoma. In the middle mediastinum, it will be the lymphoma, and the posterior, it will be the neurogenic tumors that we'll discuss later. So what will our approach if we are looking in the X-ray? First, we have to confirm whether it is in the mediastinum or in the lung parenchyma. If we have confirmed it is in the mediastinum, our next step is should be to confirm in which compartment, either anterior, middle, or the posterior mediastinum, it is situated. And if we locate the tumor or the mass in particular mediastinum, then our next step should be to narrow the differential diagnosis. So, investigation or first line of investigation always be the PA and the lateral chest film. And after that, either CT or MRI, depending on the our differential, we will go for either CT or the MRI. And finally, tissue biopsy will be required to help the surgeon. So there are certain signs or the clue that help us to locate the lesion in particular mediastinum. Here we are discussing about the mediastinal masses versus the lung parenchymal mass. So how can we differentiate this? If there is a mass in the mediastinum, it should have the smooth contour. It will create an obtuse angle with the lung, and it doesn't contain the air bronchogram. It may seem bilaterally, and the mediastinal line that we'll discuss later, it will be disrupted or displaced. However, if the lung mass is in the lung parenchyma, then it is usually surrounded by the air. It abuts the mediastinal surface and create an acute angle with the lung. It may contain the air bronchogram depending on whether it involves your respiratory tree or not. And it is usually seen only on one side. This is the pictorial representation that will help us to demonstrate that how this mass will create angle. So on the left side, this is the intraparenchymal mass or the lung mass that create acute angle with the mediastinum. And this on the right side, this is the mediastinal mass that will lift the mediastinum also. So it will create an obtuse angle. So this is your mediastinal mass that will create an obtuse angle, and in the intraparenchymal lesion will create the acute angle. This is the X-ray for the example. This is the large mass in the right upper lung zone. It is creating acute angle with the mediastinum. So it is likely a lung parenchymal mass. And here it is the mass in the right lower lung zone, and that is creating an obtuse angle. So it is likely to be a mediastinal mass. So there are certain certain signs that can help us to differentiate in which compartment that the mass is present. So we will discuss it one by one. First is the hilum overlay and the convergence sign. What is hilum overlay sign? When there is a mediastinal mass and you still can see the hilar vessel through this mass, then the mass doesn't arise from the hilum. This means it is arising from the mediastinum. That is called the hilum overlay sign. For example, here is the large mass we can see in the left middle lung zone, through which we can clearly see the hilar vessels. So it indicates this is not arising from the hilar mass. This is not a hilar mass, but it is the mediastinal mass through which we can see the hilar vessels. And particularly this is the case of the thymoma. That is the anterior component mass. There is a second example. We can see this the mass lesion noted in the right middle lung zone, through which we can clearly see the hilar vessels. So that is also a mediastinal mass. For confirming, we have done the CT scan. When we can clearly see the heterogeneous mass lesion in the anterior component that pushing the vessels posteriorly. Next is the cervicothoracic sign. It means your anterior mediastinum ends at the level of the clavicle. So the part of the lungs or the mediastinum that is visualized above the clavicle is the posterior mediastinum. That means this is the clavicle. The mediastinum or the lung part below this can be anterior or posterior, but the part of the lung or the mediastinum above the clavicle will be only posterior. So we can see clearly here is a mass lesion noted in the left upper lung zone, and it is creating an obtuse angle with the mediastinum, so it is likely a mediastinal mass, and it is extending above the clavicle, so it is a posterior mediastinal mass. And by the lateral projection we can clearly see the mass in the posterior aspect, that is behind that imaginary line that will be created 1 centimeter behind that vertebral body levels or the anterior margin of the vertebral body. Here's another example. We can see there is a mass lesion that is above the clavicle. So this is likely to be a posterior mediastinal mass. Next is the thoracoabdominal sign. It means a sharply marginated mediastinal mass, if seen through the diaphragm, that must lie entirely within the chest. And it is by the anatomical, your anterior aspect of the lung is the cranially, and the posterior prostophrenic sulcus extends far more caudally. This is the diaphragmatic dome, and the anterior mediastinum or the anterior lung zone will be end here. However, there's some part of the lung will be also there in this opacified region. So if the lesion, for example, here is the lesion that is we can very clearly see, it extends below the dome of the diaphragm, and we can clearly see the border also. So it is present in the posterior mediastinum. If it will anterior mediastinal mass, then it should be end here above that level. So next is the right paratracheal strip. Normally the paratracheal strip should be uniform in width, with the normal width ranging from 1 to 4 mm. So if the width more than the 5 mm, then it's considered widened. Here we can see this is your trachea, and we can clearly see there is the widening of the paratracheal stripe. Okay, So on CT, we see there is a lymph nodal mass in the paratracheal. So any thickening more than 5 mm in the paratracheal region, it will show some abnormalities. Next is the azygoesophageal recess. It is the interface between the right lung and the mediastinal reflection with esophagus lying anteriorly and azygous vein posteriorly. So here we can see a line. It is indicated by the arrow. This is your azygoesophageal recess or the azygoesophageal line. It is created, this part is the right lung zone. And is the anteriorly is opacity is azygous vein. We can see in this cross-sectional image of the CT, this is your right lung zone, and this is your esophagus anteriorly and your azygous vein posteriorly. So this line is formed that is called the azygoesophageal line. So in most of the mediastinal mass like that arising from the either trachea, esophagus, it will be displaced or the disrupted. Next is the paraspinal line. It is created by the interface between the lung and the pleural reflection over the vertebral body. We can clearly see the left paraspinal line due to its orientation. In this X-ray image, we can see these are the lateral borders of the vertebra, and this open arrow, that's a line that is descending aorta. And between this descending aorta lining and this vertebral body border, here is a line, straight line, that is the paraspinal line. Next is the anterior junctional line. It is seen at the posterior PA view of the X-ray. It's formed by the anterior opposition of the lung, and it consists of the 4 layers of the pleura. So there can be variable amount of the fat between these layers that can affect the thickness of the anterior junctional line. So we can see that oblique line. It is the anterior junctional line. It is formed at the interface between the right and the left lung and containing the 4 layers of the pleura. And it usually doesn't extend above the level of the junction of the manubrium, sterni and the sternum. In the cross-sectional image of the CT, we can see the anterior junction line interface between the 2 lungs. It will be disrupted in the mass present in the anterior mediastinum. Same as the anterior junctional line, there is also posterior junctional line that will also form by the opposition of the lungs and also contain the 4 layers of the pleura. However, unlike the anterior junctional line, it can be seen above the clavicle and usually a straight rather than the oblique. So in this X-ray image, we can see a straight line that is the posterior junctional line. And we can see in this cross-sectional image of the CT, that's the posterior junctional line. So there are certain differentials of the mediastinal mass. Like in anterior, you have to remember the mnemonics 4 T's, like T4 thymic gland, T4 thyroid gland, T4 teratoma, and T4 terrible lymphoma. These 4 tumors or 4 T's are the most commonly located in the anterior mediastinum. In the medial mediastinum, the most common lesions are associated with your esophagus, trachea, or the lymph nodes. In the posterior mediastinum, you usually encounter the neurogenic mass that we'll discuss later. And there are certain lesions that can be present in the more than one compartment, or at a time it can be present in all the mediastinum. That include the infection, hemorrhage, lymphangioma, hemangioma. So first start with the anterior mediastinal mass. So if we are looking at X-ray, we have to focus on the displaced anterior junctional line, obliterated cardiophrenic angles, obliterated retroesternal clear space, hilum overlay sign we have discussed earlier, and the enhancement dens or the ascending aorta. There are certain differentials of the anterior mediastinal mass, like the retroexternal goiter, innominate arteries, fat deposition, enlarged lymph node, ascending aortic aneurysm, thymoma, germ cell tumor, many more. Usually, we have to encounter these 4T, that is thymus, thyroid, teratoma, and terrible lymphoma in the anterior mediastinal mass. So thymoma is the most common primary neoplasm of the anterior mediastinum, and it usually found in the patient older than the 40 years. Usually associated with myasthenia gravis, aplastic anemia, red cell atresia. So what we found in the X-ray. So in plain X-ray or PA view, it usually presents as the anterior mediastinal mass and appears the well-defined lobulated soft tissue density slightly towards one side of the mediastinum. It can sometimes show calcification in it. CT is more sensitive than it, so we can better characterize the anterior mediastinal mass with either CT or the MRI. In this X-ray PA view, we can see here is the mass lesion noted the left hilar region. Even we can clearly see the hilar vessels through this mass. So this is the mediastinal mass, and these mass are usually located in the anterior mediastinum. So for confirmation, CT was done, and this is the cross-sectional image of the CT that is showing that well-defined heterogeneous mass lesion that is present in the anterior mediastinum, and on the biopsy that is found to be a thymoma. On this X-ray image, we can see there is a lobulated mass noted in the bilateral paratracheal region. So on CT, we found the heterogeneous mass lesion. So this was on biopsy also found as a thymoma. We can also clearly see the hilar vessels through this the mass. So these are the anterior mediastinal masses. Thymic cyst, it can be either congenital or the acquired. On plain radiograph, it is indistinguishable from the other non-lobulated thymic mass. So for confirmation, we have to do either CT or the MRI. We will usually prefer CT scan. In this X-ray, we can see there is the large hilar mass through which we can see the vessels. So this is the anterior mediastinal mass. On the lateral projection, we can see the retroexternal space is occupied by some obesity. For confirmation, CT was done. This is the cross-sectional CT image, which is showing the fluid density lesion in the anterior mediastinum. That was the thymic cyst. Next is the thymolipoma, means fat-containing tumors. So on the plain radiography, we can't differentiate it from the region with the other thymic lesion. So we have to take the help of the CT. This thymolipoma has the specific feature as these are the moldable. It occupies the space available in the mediastinum. So look this. It will appear as it is the have the pericardial effusion. You will find the same picture in the pericardial effusion. But when the CT was done, we found there is a heterogeneous mass lesion that is surrounding the heart, and this heterogeneous, these hypodense lesions represent the fatty component. So this was the case of the thymolipoma. So that mimic the pericardial effusion in the PA view. This is another case. We can see the hypodense lesion that purely contain the fat. That's why its density appears. You can see some blackish area. So this was also case of the thymolipoma. Thymic carcinoma can be differentiated by this rest of the tumor as it has the multilobulated appearance with heterogeneous area due to hemorrhage or necrosis or the calcification. Along with this, we can form the distant metastasis also. So our next common lesion in the anterior mediastinum is the thyroid masses. So most common are the goiter, after that adenoma, then carcinoma, then the lymphoma. So on plain radiography, most commonly we are seeing the tracheal displacement in case of the thyroid lesions. So this X-ray is showing there is the well-defined mediastinal mass in the superior mediastinum region, and your trachea are displaced on the left side. So this is the thyroid goiter. CT will differentiate it better, and it appears the encapsulated lobulated mass with inhomogeneous appearance with cystic areas, calcification, and also show the contrast enhancement on the after the contrast injection. This is the another case of the multinodular goiter. We can see the well-defined margin. So this is the case of the multinodular goiter, which we see the multiple nodules inside this lesion, and it encloses the trachea. Next common lesion is the lymphoma. So commonly we encounter the Hodgkin lymphoma in this region. So usually patient present with the complaint of pain, curve, dyspnea, effusion, or sometimes it can be an incidental finding also. On plain radiography, a soft tissue mass may be clearly visible, or more frequently the mediastinum is widened and the retroexternal space is obscure, and often showing the enlargement of the prevascular and the paratracheal nerves. So hilum overlay sign will be positive also, and we can better characterize by the CT as the parenchymal invasion, pleural effusion, pericardial effusion, and chest volume invasion can be better evaluated in the CT scan. So in this chest X-ray, we can see here is the mass in the right paratracheal region, and we can see above the clavicle, the mass disappears. That means it is in the anterior mediastinum and not in the posterior mediastinum. This is the transverse section of the CT, which showing the large mass lesion. That is the case of the lymphoma. Usually lymphoma encroaches all the structure in the mediastinum, and in this case it compresses the trachea also. You can clearly see trachea is compressed. Here's the another lesion. We can see there is a trachea. It's the right branch, this is the left branch, this is the subcarinal region. In subcarinal region, we can see there is a large mass lesion, well-defined mass lesion. And also there is a widening of the right paratracheal stripe. So this is the case of the lymphoma. And on the CT, we can see there is a large nodal mass. Next common tumor is the mediastinal germ cell tumor. So usually three types are found, that are teratoma, seminoma, non-seminomatous germ cell tumor. So mediastinal teratoma are the most common, and out of three types, mature, immature, and the malignant. On the plain radiography, it appears as the anterior mediastinal mass, either or either not with the calcifications. So CT will better characterize its internal structure like fluid, soft tissue, fat attenuation, and calcification may be seen. As the teratoma include all the elements from the three germs layer, so we can found all these structures like soft tissue, fluid, fat, calcification that may either represent the teeth or the bone. In some cases, MRI may be helpful, but is better differentiate the fatty tissues. So in this X-ray, we can see there is the large mass in the left hilar region, through which we can see the hilum or the hilar vessels. So this is the mediastinal mass, and on the CT's transverse section, we can clearly see there is a large mass lesion, that is the soft tissue component, that blackish area represent the fatty tissue. So this was the case of the teratoma. Again, this cross-sectional image of the CT scan, which also showing there is the mass lesion, is showing multiple different components, like this is the fluid area, this hypodensity or the blackish area present a fatty tissue, there is the hyper-attenuated or the hyperdense lesion, this represent a calcification. So this was the case of the teratoma. However, not always we will find such cases. In this case, this is the case of the teratoma. However, only fluid density is seen. Other lesions are the fat deposition. In this case, there will be the smooth widening of the superior mediastinum will be shown without the tracheal displaced. In pleuropericardial cyst, we can see pleuropericardial cyst at the pericardial and the pleural recess. So this is a lesion that on the that is the pleuropericardial cyst. In this X-ray, we can see there is a well-defined lesion noted at the pleuropericardial recess. On the CT, we found there is a fluid density lesion adjacent to the pericardium. So that was the case of the pericardial cyst. Anterior mediastinal lymph node enlargement. In this X-ray PA view, we can clearly see there is nodal enlargement of the paratracheal stripe. On the lateral projection, we can see there is a opacity in the retrosternal area and some opacity in the ascending aorta region. So these lymph nodes are present in both anterior mediastinum and also in the medial mediastinum. Okay, we will discuss about the medial mediastinal mass. Usually consists of lymph nodal enlargement, aortic arch aneurysm, enlarged pulmonary artery, dilated superior vena cava, bronchogenic cyst, tracheal lesion, and the cardiac tumor. So, if we are dealing with the medial mediastinal mass, we have to look for widened paratracheal strips, AP window mass, obliterated left subclavian artery reflections, displaced azygoesophageal recess on the right, pseudoparavertebral line on the left, mass on the posterior trachea, and the lateral donut. We will discuss some of this. Okay. In this X-ray, there are some markings or the mediastinal lines we can discuss. This is your trachea. So the line just lateral to the or the right lateral to the trachea is the paratracheal stripe. If we are looking downward, we can see here is the straight line that we have discussed already. That is the your azygoesophageal line. So this part is formed by your right lung and this formed by the esophagus and the azygos. Okay, and you can also see paraspinal line between that descending aorta line and the lateral border of the thoracic vertebra. So azygoesophageal recess displacement may be seen in case of the esophageal lesion like hiatus hernia, eclasia cardia, or some mass. In case of the lymph nodal mass, left atrial dilatation, or some cystic lesion like bronchogenic cyst. Okay, in this X-ray, we can see that line. That is your esophageal, azygoesophageal line. It is the case of the hiatus hernia. So this represents your dilated esophagus, and your line is displaced on the right side. This is another case where we can see that is your azygoesophageal line that should be present here, but it is displaced to the right side. And we can additionally see in here is the fat fluid level or the fluid level. So that demonstrates there is some obstruction below the esophagus. So that was the case of the eclasia cardia. Next is the aortic pulmonary window. That is the interface below the aorta and above the pulmonary trunk. So in this case, we can see we can see this is the aortopulmonary recess. Usually it should be concave or the straight, but here we can see it is the convex in the shape. That means there is some pathology, either lymph nodal mass or anything in the medial mediastinum is there. That's why the shape becomes the convex. So this type of the aortopulmonary window. This is the aortic knob. This is the pulmonary trunk, and between these, this concave structure is the aortopulmonary window. Structure X-ray we can see there is the convexity node, so there is some abnormalities. Next, the esophageal duplication cyst that is present in the medial mediastinum. Okay, in this X-ray PA view, if we focus, we can see there is a well-defined mass noted in the retrocardiac region, or the we can say paravertebral or paraspinal region. On the lateral projection, we can see this reflection also here. So this was the case of the esophageal duplication cyst. On CT, we can see there is a fluid density lesion noted adjacent to the esophagus. This is esophagus, this is your trachea, this is your descending aorta. So this mass or this fluid containing cyst is adjacent to the esophagus. Similar picture is also shown by this MRI image where this lesion is the esophageal duplication cyst. Next is the bronchogenic cyst. Bronchogenic cysts are usually located near the carina or in the paratracheal region. So, in this chest X-ray, we can see there is a well-defined lesion or the well-defined opacity noted in the subcarinal region. And also there is the displacement of the azygoesophageal line to the right side. On the CT image, in the transverse section, we can see there is a fluid containing mass lesion or fluid containing lesion noted adjacent to the trachea. So that was the case of the bronchogenic cyst. Usually it is very difficult to differentiate this bronchogenic cyst and the esophageal cyst by the your radiology investigations. Next and the last is the posterior mediastinal masses that usually contain the neurogenic tumors. Apart from this, esophageal lesion, paravertebral masses, neuroenteric cysts, hernias, pancreatic sidosis, paravertebral abscess, or the extramedullary hematophysis may also be mediastinal mass. So, if we are looking in the conventional X-ray, so we should be focused on the cervicothoracic sign and the widening of the paravertebral strips. Other than that, there are certain imaging findings also that help to conclude that it is the posterior mediastinal masses that we have to look for the ribs. Usually posterior mediastinal masses, either benign or the malignant, it will erode the ribs. And we have to look for the neural foramina because the neural tumors will usually extend into the spinal column through the neural foramen, and in this case it will enlarge the neural foramen. Other findings may be scalloping of the posterior vertebral body may be occur, may produce the scoliosis. Other posterior mediastinal masses may be paraspinal abscess from TB, neuroenteric cyst, or the extramedullary hematophysis. On cervicothoracic sign, we have discussed it earlier. There is a mass lesion noted in the right upper lung zone. As we discussed, any mass lesion above the clavicle will be not in the anterior mediastinum. So this is present in the posterior mediastinum. And we can see there is the lung tissue also surrounding that mass lesion. So in this case, we can see there is a bilateral paratracheal stripes are the wide end. So this was the case of the discitis. If we are focusing on this lateral X-ray, we can see there is the narrowing of the intervertebral joint. So